I would never have believed in aliens if not for incredible discoveries that challenge everything we knew before. Medieval evidence, mysterious fragments found in the ocean, and artifacts millions of years old all point to possible alien intervention. We are on the verge of a discovery that could change everything we knew about our world and the universe. After watching this video, you will change your mind about the ancient world. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel, place where you can find a UFO. American scientist, professor at Northeastern University Brian Helmuth, claims that the search for alien life on Earth should start with the ocean. In his opinion, the oceans and seas hide many mysteries, and people have only a superficial idea of their depths. Helmuth, not being a specialist in the field of UFOs but having knowledge of oceanology, believes that something related to extraterrestrial civilizations can be hidden underwater. I will add that oceanographer Paula Bontempi recently joined a special NASA commission for the study of unidentified objects. Earlier, NASA announced the appointment of a new head of UFO research, Mark McInerney, who previously represented the organization in the Pentagon. This emphasizes the seriousness of the approach to the study of this phenomenon. Copper object. This mysterious artifact made from a single piece of copper alloy puzzles researchers and collectors. The object, rather crudely cast with visible defects, has a head in the shape of a rectangular prism which narrows on all sides to a sharp edge. The handle, smoothly rounded at the end, shows no traces of blows, which indicates that it was not used for striking in the usual sense. Interestingly, the edges of the head previously had parallel lines and scratches that have worn off over time. This may indicate repeated use of the artifact, possibly in the process of cutting, grinding, or scraping. The estimated dating of the artifact varies between 5,000 and 10,000 years, but the exact origin remains unclear. Some researchers hypothesize that this object could have been used for ritual purposes or as part of an unknown technological device. Alternative history proponents believe that such artifacts could have been part of ancient, highly advanced tools created using technology beyond the capabilities of ancient metallurgists. UFO landing pad. Gary Dixon, 62, from Flint, Wales, was driving to Llangollen when he was caught by a 15-meter white circular disc slowly rotating on the surface of the River Dee in Denbighshire. He was so intrigued by this unusual object that he decided to walk a few kilometers to study it closer. The disc was perfectly round and rotated counterclockwise, creating the impression of a mysterious natural phenomenon. Gary, who was planning to spend a winter day in Llangollen, was so fascinated by what he saw that he stayed to watch it for about half an hour. According to his observations, the disc made one rotation per hour. Ice discs, as it turns out, are not uncommon. This natural phenomenon is observed all over the world, from Russia and China to Scandinavia and North America. The first recorded sighting of an ice disk was in 1895 in the USA on the Meteorite River in Connecticut. In recent years, such natural formations have attracted attention due to their impressive size. For example, in January 2019, a 100-meter wide ice disk was discovered on the Presumpscot River in Maine. But an even more impressive case occurred in Canada, where a giant rotating disk with a diameter of 200 meters was spotted on the Tahltan River, which was captured by satellite lenses. These unique ice formations have received different names: ice circles, frying pans, and carousels. Knossos board game. The rules of this game have been lost to time, and to this day, no one knows how it was played. This artifact was discovered during excavations of the Palace of Knossos by British archaeologist Arthur Evans. Knossos, located on the island of Crete, is considered one of the oldest cities in Europe, and the game found dates back to around 1600 BC. Made of precious materials such as ivory, crystal, glass, gold, and silver, the game was not only an expensive pastime, but also perhaps a symbol of the high status of its owner. Archaeologists suggest that the game could have been used not only for entertainment, but also for rituals or divination. Some researchers even hypothesize that the complex patterns on the board may contain astronomical or mystical elements, which is of interest to supporters of the theory of the alien origin of ancient knowledge. Perhaps this mysterious board game once helped people communicate with higher powers or even with extraterrestrial civilizations. Buddha wheels and devil's carousels. Marine bioluminescence, a phenomenon in which some marine life emits light, has been known for a long time. For example, some types of plankton are capable of creating light bright enough to be noticed by the human eye. This phenomenon is often associated with observations of a glow on the surface of the water or just below it. However, in addition to scientific explanations, there are also more mystical stories about mysterious circles on the water. These glowing rings are called Buddha wheels or devil's carousels. Interestingly, the former ones, according to one version, were so named by Eastern sailors and the latter by Europeans. The Chinese considered such phenomena to be favorable omens, while Europeans, in particular Christians, perceived them as a bad omen. Note how people in the West and East, observing the same natural phenomenon, interpret it completely oppositely. At the same time, despite the popularity of these stories, there is not a single official documented evidence of such phenomena. Perhaps the mysterious glowing circles are associated with marine plankton, which creates a bright glow in the darkness of the ocean. It is also worth noting that such stories about Buddha wheels and devil's carousels are often reflected in folklore, but so far remain only part of myths and legends, not confirmed by factual data. Scientists melt 46,000-year-old ice. Scientists have made a stunning discovery by reviving an ancient nematode that was frozen in Siberia for 46,000 years. The microscopic worm, identified as Panagrolamus colimensis, was found 40 meters underground where it had been dormant since the earliest cave paintings were made. After being thawed, the nematode came back to life, began feeding on bacteria in the lab and reproducing asexually, then leaving a new generation for further study. The nematode's ability to survive in extreme conditions rivals better-known species such as Caenorhabditis elegans, which can survive desiccation and produce a sugar called trehalose that protects against dehydration. This discovery could open up new horizons in understanding biological processes of survival and evolution, suggesting that species can survive in extreme conditions for thousands of years and even revive after a long period of dormancy. If scientists can implant the abilities of these living creatures into humans, we will actually be able to travel in time, since humanity will be able to put people into a state of suspended animation and awaken them in the distant future after tens, hundreds, or thousands of years. Life in a meteorite. Researchers studying a meteorite found on the island of Sri Lanka have said that it is not just a rock fragment from outer space, but a potential artifact of extraterrestrial origin. The analysis revealed the presence of fossils of microscopic algae, which, according to scientists, may be evidence of the panspermia hypothesis, the idea that life is spread throughout the universe via asteroids and comets. These discoveries have attracted widespread interest as they could support the theory of the existence of life beyond Earth. However, the results have been criticized by the scientific community. Some experts argue that the fossils found are too similar to terrestrial microorganisms living in fresh water. The possibility of contamination of the meteorite by terrestrial life forms during its stay on the surface of the Earth also remains a serious argument against the hypothesis of extraterrestrial origin of the find. Alien visitors in Egypt. Recent archaeological excavations in Egypt have led to a sensational discovery that has attracted the attention of the entire world. Archaeologists have found artifacts in the Giza Plateau area that, according to some scientists, may be evidence that aliens visited Earth 5,000 years ago. It all started with excavations in a recently opened tomb dating back to the Old Kingdom of Egypt. Among the items found, metal plates with mysterious symbols and images of flying objects that resembled modern UFOs stood out. An analysis of the artifacts showed that they were covered in writing in an unknown language. Some scientists suggest that this could be a message from aliens, which the ancient Egyptians could have perceived as contact with another civilization. Linguists are already working to decipher these symbols, but the results remain unclear. Attention was also drawn to the images of unidentified flying objects on the plates, which, according to ufologists, could be a diagram of an alien ship. It seems to me that so far the researchers have made a lot of hasty conclusions, and most likely the interpretation of these plates will be more down to earth. Therefore, it is better to wait until the study of these artifacts is completed and find out what symbols are depicted and why they were there. Neuralgic bronze figurines. These figurines with horned helmets shed light on mysterious people whose origins are still controversial. In the 12th century BC, the Mediterranean faced a catastrophe. the invasion of the so-called Sea Peoples, who united to attack the major civilizations of the Bronze Age. These warlike peoples, described by the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses III, attacked such great powers as Ugarit, the Hittites, Cyprus, the Canaanites, and even the mighty Egypt. It is with their invasions that the Bronze collapse is associated, the disappearance or weakening of many great states. One of the most mysterious tribes among the Sea Peoples are considered to be the Shurdans, or Shardana. In Egyptian images, they are depicted in horned helmets and armor. However, the most interesting thing is the connection of this people with the island of Sardinia. In the Phoenician inscriptions on the Nora stone, Sardinia is referred to as Srdn, the same name used by the Egyptians to refer to the Shurdans. This theory is supported by the Nuragic bronze statues found on the island. They depict warriors with the same horned helmets as in the reliefs of Ramses III and armed with shields and swords. This raises the question, were the Shurdans originally from Sardinia, or did they settle on the island after their campaigns in the eastern Mediterranean? While historians continue to study the artifacts, this mystery remains unsolved and gives rise to many hypotheses about the role of the Shurdans in the disappearance of Bronze Age civilizations. Rebitters and bioducks. If it seems that the sound anomalies associated with marine UFOs were recorded only by American sailors, then this is not so. Soviet submariners also encountered similar mysterious phenomena. In the 1970s, the crews of Soviet nuclear submarines detected strange sounds reminiscent of the croaking of frogs, which quickly spread in the waters of the North Atlantic, especially in areas controlled by NATO. These sounds were so unusual that they became the subject of numerous discussions and hypotheses. The sounds recorded by the acoustics of Soviet submarines almost always accompanied them and moved at an amazing speed, up to 150 knots. However, active sonar did not record any objects that could be the source of these noises. It was assumed that these sounds came from something too small to detect or were even living creatures. For several years, scientists tried to figure out the nature of these strange rebitters, putting forward various theories, from unexplored phenomena occurring in submarine nuclear reactors to vibrations at the boundary of water layers with different temperatures and salinities. However, the Soviet Academy of Sciences put forward a more likely explanation. The sounds were biological in nature and could come from whales or unknown deep-sea mollusks. Submariners, in turn, did not agree with this, believing that the rebitters were too different from any known sea creatures. Over time, a more realistic version appeared, proposed by skeptics. According to this theory, the submariners mistook the sounds of active buoys dropped from NATO anti-submarine aircraft for the rebitting. These devices, equipped with water-filled power sources, could produce noises similar to croaking. This version explains why rebitters were most often recorded in areas of active NATO patrols and why this anomaly disappeared after the collapse of the USSR. Sailors of the Royal Navy of Great Britain, in turn, recorded similar noises, which they called bioducks, from the English onomatopoeia of quacking. These sounds were recorded in the waters around Australia, where in the 1960s, the most important nuclear testing grounds for the British fleet were located. Since patrols in these waters by the USSR or the USA were unlikely, the British also initially associated these sounds with marine life. It took scientists more than 50 years to establish the source of the bioducks. It turned out that the strange sounds are made by southern minke whales, whales that, before a deep dive, unexpectedly make this sound. Minoan snake goddess. The most famous symbol of the Minoan civilization remains a mystery. One of the most recognizable symbols of all Minoan culture is the snake goddess, yet archaeologists still know little about her. Given her popularity, you might think that scientists would have a good understanding of this artifact by now. But since her discovery in 1903, there has been ongoing debate about who or what she represents. Dating to around 1600 BC, this faience figurine is rare in Minoan art, making it even more mysterious. Some archaeologists believe that she represents a goddess who is the patron of animals, while others believe that the woman depicted on the figurine has nothing to do with snakes at all. It is believed that the snakes in her hands are actually ropes and that the statue itself was significantly restored by Arthur Evans, which has led to many misconceptions and misinterpretations. Eclipse battle. Imagine two kings who have been waging a bitter war for 5 years, losing their soldiers but seeing no end to the confrontation. And suddenly, when the sky, filled with the sounds of battle, darkens, a solar eclipse occurs. At this moment, the warriors on both sides freeze, lower their weapons, watching in amazement as a natural phenomenon eclipses human rage. The kings decide to declare a truce. This event became known as the Battle of the Eclipse, written about by the Greek historian Herodotus. In 585 BC, on the Halys River in Asia Minor, where the Lydians led by King Alyats and the Medes led by Cyaxares fought, an eclipse occurred that was predicted in advance. Historians believe that it was the Greek astronomer Thales of Miletus who predicted it. This eclipse, which was the first in history to be predicted by a human, has generated a lot of controversy. Predicting a solar eclipse is a difficult task. However, calculations have shown that the eclipse did indeed occur in 585, but not on Thales' supposed date of May 18, 584. Some believe that Thales could have used data from previous observations, but his accuracy is questionable, especially in light of the lack of astronomical instruments and records from that time. Historians also argue about the details of the battle. For example, Pliny only mentions the king of Lydia in his work, while the name of the Median ruler is questionable. In any case, despite these controversial points, the Battle of the Eclipse remains an important historical event. As a result of the eclipse, a truce was concluded, and the Halys River became the border between the two warring states. Stationary underwater objects. There are many stationary anomalous objects hidden in the oceans that still remain a mystery to scientists. Even if we put aside myths such as the legends of Atlantis, the list of interesting finds is still impressive. One of the most famous is the Inagui Monument, located near the Ryukyu Islands, not far from the Japanese Yonaguni. These are stone structures located at a shallow depth that have regular geometric shapes. Despite the fact that most scientists consider them to be a natural geological formation, many researchers and pseudo-archaeologists are trying to prove that these stones are the result of human activity. Another mystery is the megalith found at the bottom of the Gulf of Pantelleria Vecchia in the Tunisian Strait. This is a huge stone, 12 meters long and weighing 15 tons, in which there are 3 round holes. Based on its structure, it is assumed that it was processed by man in the Mesolithic, about 15,000 years ago. However, rock analysis showed that its age could be much higher, more than 40,000 years, which casts doubt on its origin. The Cuban underwater city is another mysterious discovery made in 2001 off the west coast of Cuba. With the help of sonar, geometric structures resembling pyramids and rings consisting of granite blocks were discovered. These findings raised a lot of questions among researchers, as they could be both natural formations and the result of human activity. These and other objects remain the subject of active research and discussion because their origin can reveal a lot of unknown things about ancient civilizations and the nature of the ocean depths. Alien ship fragments in the ocean. A renowned Harvard University astrophysicist, Avi Loeb, who gained popularity for his UFO research and possible contacts with aliens, reported the possible discovery of alien ship fragments on the ocean floor. Loeb became famous for his theory about the unusual nature of the asteroid Oumuamua, which accelerated and deviated from the expected trajectory for no apparent reason in 2017, which led the scientists to suggest its artificial origin. Recently, Loeb drew attention to a meteorite that fell into the Pacific Ocean in 2014. The object, known as IM-1, was distinguished by an unusual speed of movement. The scientist went to the site of its fall and, together with his team, extracted fragments from a depth of 1,700 meters. As a result, they discovered about 50 small balls consisting of iron, magnesium, and titanium, about 0.3 millimeters in size. Loeb and his colleagues suggest that these spherules may be evidence of an alien spacecraft crash landing on Earth. However, many scientists are skeptical of his hypothesis, arguing that such fragments with such a composition may be the result of natural processes that occur when meteorites fall into the atmosphere and onto the ocean floor. A call from aliens. Humanity has been sending signals into space for decades, hoping to establish contact with alien civilizations. But what if Earth ever receives a response? If scientists manage to detect signs of extraterrestrial life, then most likely the first to know about it will be specialists from the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, program. This project began its work back in 1959 when scientists began to study signals from space. Today, powerful computers are used to analyze a huge number of radio signals, tracking any unusual patterns. According to Seth Shostak, SETI's chief astronomer, even if a signal from aliens is detected, it will not lead to panic. All the results will be confirmed by other telescopes and the whole world will definitely know about it. In the end, the news of such a discovery will instantly spread through the media and social networks. Although previous attempts to contact aliens have resulted in false alarms, scientists believe it is important to prepare for real contact. But the question of how to respond to aliens remains open. It will require international cooperation, and the main language of communication, according to scientists, will be mathematics. Professor Paul Davis from Arizona State University leads a team working on a response. It is believed that aliens may simply send a signal to say, "Hello, Earthlings, we are here." But how to express the essence of human life or our values using mathematics remains a challenge. Ancient chemical weapons. Archaeologist Simon James from the University of Leicester has presented the results of his research, which could change our understanding of the use of chemical weapons in ancient times. He claims to have found evidence of the use of poisonous substances in 256 AD, during the siege of the Roman city of Dura Europos on the banks of the Euphrates River. James's research focused on excavations carried out in this ancient city, which was besieged by the Persian army. In one of the tunnels dug by the Romans to prevent the enemy from advancing, the remains of 20 soldiers were found. These men died while standing in their passages, and James proposed the theory that the use of chemical weapons could have caused their deaths. Traces of bitumen and sulfur crystals were found in the tunnel, substances that emit toxic fumes when burned. According to the scientists, the Persians could have installed a brazier in their tunnel, placing these materials on it. When the Romans breached the wall, deadly fumes began to leak out, killing all the city's defenders within minutes. Despite the use of chemical weapons, the Persian army was unable to breach the city's walls through the mines. However, Dura Europos was captured, and the methods by which the Persians managed to do so remain unclear. Stone tools in Dagestan. Archaeological finds have been made in Dagestan that significantly expand our understanding of the ancient history of mankind. The main objects of the study were the ancient sites of Mukkai I and Mukkai II, located along ancient riverbeds. Stone tools dating back millions of years were found here. The finds at the Mukkai I site attracted particular attention. Among them were flat picks, double-sided choppers, and other tools similar to those found at the Ainikab I site. These finds date back to the period 1.95–1.78 million years ago, which makes them some of the most ancient in Russia. The tools found at Mukkai I indicate a high level of technology among ancient people. They used stone chips to create chopping and cutting tools. However, unlike similar finds in East Africa, no hand axes were found here, which may indicate unique technologies typical of this part of the world. Of interest are also giant tools weighing 5–6 kilograms, which according to scientists were used to split bones and skulls to extract bone marrow. Such tools are found at sites where ancient people cut up trophies. Kryptonite on Earth. Jadeite, a mineral discovered in 2006 in Serbia, attracted attention due to its striking similarity to kryptonite, the fictional substance that weakens Superman. The chemical composition of jadeite is almost identical to the kryptonite described in the film Superman Returns, including sodium, lithium, borosilicate, and hydroxide. However, unlike its fictional counterpart, jadeite does not contain fluorine, which gave kryptonite its famous green glow. This is why jadeite is white. The discovery of this mineral has attracted great interest from both scientists and science fiction fans, becoming an example of how fiction sometimes intersects with reality. Jadeite was found exclusively in the Jadar River Valley in Serbia and is of interest due to its high lithium content, which is used in the production of batteries. The Sculpted Rocks of Rothenef. In 1879, in the small town of Châteauneuf-de-Gallour in southeastern France, a postman began building a unique palace that would last 33 years. This fantastic palace, known as the Palais Cheval, was a true work of art created without great expense or specialized training. About 15 years later, on the other side of France, in Brittany, the priest Adolphe Julien Fouéré, later nicknamed the Cheval of Breton, began creating stunning sculptures. He was ordained a priest in 1863, but after losing his hearing in 1894, he retired. He settled in the small village of Rothenef, where he began working in the art brut genre, art created outside of official culture. Fouéré created hundreds of wooden sculptures from 1894 to 1907, including totem poles, figures of saints and political figures, animals, and mythological creatures. However, his most notable work was the more than 300 sculptures carved into the granite cliffs of the Emerald Coast. These brightly colored figures and bas-reliefs depict fantastical characters, historical events, and mythology, from saints and explorers to majestic figures like Cleopatra and Napoleon. His works attracted thousands of tourists, and the city of Saint-Malo even built a tram line to cope with the influx of spectators. Unfortunately, in 1907, Fouéré suffered from paralysis, which limited his creativity. He died in 1910, but his works continued to attract attention. Today, these sculptures are in danger of deteriorating due to the effects of time and nature. UFOs in the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages are often thought of as an era of wars, diseases, and dark superstitions without electricity or other modern conveniences. However, this period also saw the birth of important advances, such as universities, the printing press, and the first books. Not only did these advances influence the development of science and education, but they also provided historical evidence, including unusual events in the sky that could be interpreted as UFO encounters. One such example is a news leaflet issued in April 1561 describing a mass sighting in Nuremberg. On April 14, 1561, at dawn, residents of the city witnessed a collision of various objects in the sky: spheres, cylinders, and other strange shapes. These objects fought with each other, and then one of them, a large black triangle, appeared in the air. The event lasted for several hours but did not cause any harm to the townspeople. Some believe that these were mass hallucinations, others that it could have been a UFO collision. Such events are not limited to Nuremberg. In 1566, in Switzerland, in the city of Basel, similar phenomena were observed. Strange figures in the sky, reminiscent of combat between celestial objects. In 1665, in Berlin, fishermen witnessed a battle of airships, as well as a strange object reminiscent of a modern description of a UFO. These stories indicate that UFOs could be part of human mythology and were documented long before the 20th century. Mysterious disappearance at the Lighthouse. A lighthouse is a place that invariably evokes a feeling of loneliness and anxiety. The story of the disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers from the Flannan Islands has become a real mystical mystery, attracting the attention of lovers of unexplained events. It all began in 1900, when a helicopter crew was sent to Eilean Moor, part of the Flannan Islands, to check on the work of the lighthouse and its keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur. When they arrived, they found that no one was there, as if the men had simply disappeared. An overturned chair was found inside the lighthouse, untouched food was on the table, and the clock did not work. The ship's log reported that there was a strong storm in the area, but there were no reports of it in the surrounding areas. Based on this, it was assumed that the keepers died, carried away by the sea during their work, but the lack of traces of blood and other evidence gave rise to many mystical theories. Some believe that Eilean Moor Island has a sinister aura that affects people, causing them to lose their minds. Mysterious disappearances, lack of logical explanations, and strange details have made this story the basis for legends that speak of supernatural forces and even aliens. The lack of exact facts only fuels mystical theories, leaving more questions than answers. A terrifying find in Kuwait. A unique 7,000-year-old clay figurine reminiscent of aliens has been found in Kuwait, marking a major breakthrough in archaeology. The discovery was made at the Bara 1 archaeological site, which dates back to the 6th millennium BC. The figurine depicts a head with slanted eyes, a flat nose, and an elongated skull, which makes it similar to modern ideas about aliens. This discovery is the first of its kind in the Arabian Gulf region, although similar artifacts have previously been found in Mesopotamia. The figurine reflects the artistic traditions of the Ubaid culture, which was known for its unique ceramics and figurines. Interestingly, the figurine was made from Mesopotamian clay, not local ceramics, indicating cultural exchange. Ubaid art included the creation of figurines with symbolic meaning, and this discovery may help to understand the spiritual practices of ancient societies. The figurines may have been associated with religious rites or served as symbols of social status. And until science confirms the existence of guests from outer space, everyone decides for themselves about the nature of mysterious flying objects. Share this video with your friends and write a kind comment under the video. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.